All right, you know what? Let's just get started with tiering, and then if we need to add anybody in, we'll add them in. So starting off the tier list, we will be starting off with probably the more controversial of the servants on this tier list, because I think he's the only one who's a male in here. So, I mean, it's 2023. You guys need to, evolve with the times. You know what I mean? So, Emiya is here as the first servant we're going to tier. So, where should we put him? S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, or D tier? So, D tier is like someone call child protective services, because those are reserved for the worst parents, the worst kind of people to have as a parent. So, where should we have Emiya? Now, you guys got to keep in mind, while Emiya is a dude, he could cook, he could clean, as you could see in, I think, episode 1 of UBW, he could clean. He might be a hard ass, but in the end of the day, he does the right thing, right? So he has, like, in my opinion, most of the qualities, if not all the qualities, of a good mother. So he's at least A tier, right? He's at least A tier. I just don't know. Should we put him S tier? I don't know if I'm gonna get attacked later. How dare you put like a male in S tier mother? Listen, it's just a game, bro. But like, should he be S tier or A tier? A tier, reliable, but because he's a guy, he's not truly a mommy. That's a bold statement, Chickmeister. That's a bold statement. Men can be moms. Get with the times. Well, that's what I said earlier. I think he could be S tier. I just need a stronger argument. I think A tier is solid. He's so good, he deserves S status. Okay, you know what? You got to remember in, I believe, Heaven's Field 2, when he rescued Emiya and Ilya, at some point, he throws Emiya at the floor really hard and, like, disrespected the fuck out of him. But he puts down Ilya very, calmly and, like, carefully and cautiously. So he's really good with kids, or like, at least, I mean, Ilya technically isn't a kid, but, kid-like people, I guess, like petite people. Man, I don't know. Okay, we'll put him S tier for now, because most people are saying S tier. It's pretty high for, that's what I'm saying. It's a bit controversial, but see, but does that make him just a good brother? I think that, you know what? I'm going back and forth, but that just makes him a good brother. That doesn't really make him a good mother necessarily. Okay, so we'll keep him A tier for now. Let's just move on, because I'm going back and forth. He's definitely A or S. I don't think anyone's gonna argue that. A for Archer, you know what I'm saying? Okay, next in the tier is a 3-star servant. One of the few 3-star servants actually on this list. Boudica. So if you guys don't know Boudica's backstory, it's actually kind of fucked up. So I'm kind of hesitating to explain it. Just know that she has a bunch of daughters, I think 3 daughters, and she was at one point loyal, or at least allies, with the Roman Empire. And let's just say the Roman Empire kind of screwed her daughters over and her over, and then she went on a murderous avenging rampage to avenge her pride and her daughters and whatnot. Let's just say that. And as far as her in the Fate series, she's in a lot of cutscenes. She likes to cook for characters, and she's very motherly in that respect, and she's very, like, kind and, gentle and whatnot. So she has, like, the basic footprints of a good mother. So I feel like she's at least A tier, but I don't know if about S tier. I want to say A tier. I think S tier is too high. She's a good mom, don't get me wrong, and it's good that she cares so much for her daughters to do what she did, but A tier is fine. I don't want to put her at B tier, because being okay, after what she's been through, and still having the mental capacity to fight back, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, vengeance is motherly shit. Yeah, you don't mess with a mother's kids, you know what I mean? Like, you could kind of mess with their significant other and get away with that, but as soon as you touch their kids in any capacity, it's game over, you know what I mean? Medea. So Medea, after realizing she was used by Jason, she killed all of her kids and killed a bunch of people. So she clearly did not love her kids. So I think D tier is pretty obvious for me. I don't know if I wouldn't put her at naughty mommy, because naughty mommy is like, you might be a little bit bad, but in the end of the day, you still care about your kids to some capacity. Whereas D tier is like, she does not give a fuck. Parvati is very similar to Boudica. She cooks. She, you know, treats everyone like she's their mother. Like, especially like the Indian servants, like Karna, Arjuna, Ashwatthama, especially Ashwatthama. So, and she disciplines him too. Because Ashwatthama is like a hard ass. He has like an attitude. But as soon as she enters the room, he squirms in fear. So that shows a lot of like motherly like power. I feel like S tier is like reserved for like the best of the best though. So next one, Irie. I know technically that's the Holy Grail, not really Irie herself, but just for the purpose of this live stream, for this video, I will be considering her Irie from Fate Zero and the Fate series in general. Correct me if I'm wrong, she doesn't really do anything to get Elia out of the situation, the Holy Grail situation. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think she does by participating in the Holy Grail War and then hopefully winning. Maybe she hopes to end the cycle and then Elia doesn't have to become the next Holy Grail. I don't know if that was one of her motivations. It's been a while since I've seen Zero. I want to say okay at best. Yeah, she's a cup, but she a thick cup. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, she a thick cup. I wouldn't mind drinking out of that. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Smell me? Sheesh. So Helena is odd because at first glance she is a lolly, right? Does act a lot older than she looks, if that makes sense. But I feel like she hasn't done too much as a motherly figure. I just know she has a lot of motherly characteristics, and that's like a running meme. She's like a lolly mother, lolly baba or something. Yeah, I guess that's true. A lot of her motherly instincts comes out when she's dealing with Edison and what the fuck is his name, Tesla. She is more like a grandma, but I mean by definition, if we really got to be technical here, grandmas are grandmothers and therefore mothers, you know. So Danzo, if you guys are not aware, is a karakuri. I think that's how you pronounce it, or like basically like a robot, a Japanese robot from like back in the day. And she helped raise, I believe, Kotaro Fuma. Helped train them in the art of ninjutsu and shit, on some Naruto shit. And so a lot of her motherly side we could only base on her interactions on Kotaro Fuma and how Kotaro is as a character. And looking at Kotaro, he seems to have a good head on his shoulders. He seems to be a good guy. He clearly loves Danzo. If you've played through I think it was Epic Around. Yeah, Epic Around 3. So he respects her. I could put her at S tier if most people agree with that, but I don't know if you guys are just like Danzo fanboys or something. If she stepped up in Shimosa and I just don't remember. I think she was in another event too. I just don't remember which one that was. A tier, she saved Kotaro and sacrificed herself to save him even when... That's true. That's true. Okay, next one's more controversial. Probably a lot more than any of the characters so far. She doesn't really act like a mom at all, which is why I didn't really put her here originally. But she is Yang Guofei's grandma, her like adopted grandma or something. Maybe she's like the first naughty mommy, because she's a little bit on the naughtier side. A tier, imaginary scramble puts Yang in her place when Yang goes a bit evil. Yeah, see, I remember that. I just don't know if that's enough. Because, okay, you're saying she should be A tier, along with other characters who knows how to cook, knows how to clean, like dotes on other characters, disciplines them just like Wu, but I don't know. I don't know if she should be A tier. The next one is Kichi Hogan though, who again is the mentor of Ushi Wakamaru, and she volunteers to be our master or our teacher as well. But then she also insinuates she wants to fuck us. So I don't know. That sounds a little bit naughty to me. But I mean, if we just disregard that, which I mean, that's kind of part of her character, so maybe we can't even disregard that. I didn't know this until recently. I didn't know she has motherly, like a backstory, like a motherly backstory and motherly like personality traits. I really don't know much about her personality. She's just very loud and energetic and silly. So beyond that, I don't know like any of the deeper stuff about her character. So I think I'll just put it at B because there's like no reason for me not to put her any higher or any lower. Okay, I really don't know anything about this character, so you guys got to help me out with whatever her name is. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Okay, so Artemis isn't technically a mom, but correct me if I'm wrong, Fate fanatics and like Greek enthusiasts, but Atalanta, I don't remember if she was abandoned as a baby or whatnot, but I'm pretty sure Artemis found Atalanta when Atalanta was like a baby or at least a young child, and she basically took Atalanta under her wing and then raised her from the ground up and taught her archery and whatnot. I mean, it takes a lot for anybody to find a random ass kid and decide, listen, I'm gonna raise you because I think that's the right thing to do. And while Atalanta's she's kind of disturbed in the head, you know, she has this overprotective nature when it comes to kids. For the most part, she's good though. So I think Artemis did a good job. So moving on to Skasaha Shisho, Skathik, who just like Kichi Hogan's more like a mentor, but I think she does a better job than Kichi Hogan in regards to Ku. I know Ku fears her, and to a certain extent you gotta fear your parents to a certain extent. I guess I don't really have a problem with either A or B. So yeah, instead of being like a loving mother, she's more strict. You know what, I think with that said, yeah, probably B tier probably makes the most sense, because to be a mom, or a parent in general, yeah, you have to be strict, right, to an extent, but you also have to have a loving side, and I feel like she has shown no loving side. It's just mostly, if not wholly, strict sensei vibes. All right, so next one is Scotty. So this is Lostbelt 2 spoilers, or kind of, not really. It's more like a backstory. So I'm a butcher the backstory a lot, so bear with me. But essentially, the Nordic gods, and she's one of the Nordic gods. She's one of them, right? All of them fought a great war against Surtur. All of them pretty much sacrificed themselves and got bodied, and the only one left was Scotty herself. So it was up to her to raise the rest of humanity and like care for them and protect them, but at the same time also protect and care for the giants, who she's also half giant, so she cares about them just as much, or to a certain extent almost as much as humans. What she does in Lostbelt 2 is kind of fucked up, not gonna lie. She kind of just turns humans into like a farm for the giants to eat, but in her own weird way she does love everyone, every human, including us, as if she's their mother. I mean, her Kalia self, like if we just go off of the one we summon and her character from then on going forward, she would probably be easily S tier. But I think there's something to be said about feeding. Like imagine this, okay, let me put this into perspective. For those of you guys who have siblings and your brother was hungry, let's say he was your bigger brother, your brother was hungry. In order to feed your brother, your older brother, your mom decides to feed you to him. That's kind of what she does. So I don't want to put her at S tier because that's kind of fucked up. Granted, she gave everyone a happy life, like a very ignorant life, but very happy life. So the giants are your abusive older brother that won't move out of the house. And yeah, and they want to eat you. So, and she lets them eat you. All right, next one is Europa. I hesitate on S tier, because if we're talking about the Lostbelts again, in Lostbelt 5, again, kind of spoilers, she lets Zeus, her husband, she kind of lets him for the most part do what he wants. And he's not exactly the best parent, to put it lightly. Not exactly the best god. And while she does conspire against him on the side, and then by the end of the story she is completely against him, she still enables him and allows a lot of the shit to happen. I guess, I mean, it makes sense. Like, she probably knew she didn't have a chance against Zeus. I think A tier is fine. She's definitely not just an okay mom. She, especially by the end of it, when she's with what's her name, Adele and her brother. I forgot her brother's name. She like comforts them when they're essentially about to cease to exist. So Morgan is kind of controversial because she is a dictator tyrant, but let's just look at her motherly side. We're not basing all these characters off on like every other character trait and every other story that they have. If we're just looking at them as mothers. I'll spell 6 spoilers, by the way, kind of. I didn't read too much into it, but to my understanding, Fairy Knight Tristan here, right here, her backstory is pretty fucked up. I believe she had a very bad upbringing, and she was basically at death's door, and she didn't really want to live or anything. And then Morgan took her under her wing and basically turned her life around. Adopted Fairy Knight Tristan and made her, like, she's still sadistic. Fairy Knight Tristan's sadistic as fuck, but she's at least in a better state of mind and a better state of everything really, physically, mentally, everything. Morgan's at least okay. She might even be A tier. But I hesitate to put her S tier because it's not like Fairy Knight Tristan got raised to be like a righteous, good person. She's still evil. We'll put both of the Raikos on the same place. Even though Summer Raiko acts completely different. She doesn't react like a mom. She acts like a hall monitor or student council president or some shit. Some of the cutscenes it's kind of misconstrued, and like a lot of the fan base sees her in a very sexual way. If you just look at Kintoki, who's like her main kid, Kintoki is considered by many to be one of the most righteous and like the best bro, essentially. Everyone calls him best bro. Kintoki does fear her and is trying to get away from her. But in the end of the day, I think they do have a mutual respect and love for each other. So you could say she's obsessive and like a little bit too overprotective. You could argue that. She doesn't want Kintoki to be with Shuten because Shuten's an Oni, a demon. So, I mean, is that really a bad thing? I love Shuten, but like, you know, gotta call a spade for spade. You know, she's not exactly the best influence. And she does act motherly towards us, I believe, and other characters like Watanabe no Suna, who's part of the Heavenly Kings as well. So even look at Watanabe no Suna, who wasn't raised by Raiko like Kintoki was. He's still a righteous person, still a nice person for the most part. So I think Raiko deserves S tier. So the last one is the original mother herself. If you know the lore behind Larva Tiamat, she's technically a different individual from the Tiamat we fought. Originally, she was everyone's mother, like everyone back in the day. And she loved us. She loved us so much, in fact, that when the gods rebelled against Abzu, who's like her husband, the other god that created everyone else, right? She let them. She allowed them. She supported them. This is Fate lore, by the way. I believe in real life lore, that's not the case. But in Fate lore, Tiamat was cool with everybody rebelling against Abzu. She was like, okay, yeah, you guys are grown up. Let's do this. So you guys deserve your independence from him or whatever. I don't know. And I think it's pretty cool for the most part, not all the time, when mothers are able to detach themselves from their significant other if it means the betterment of their kids. So I think so far she sounds S tier, or at least A tier. However, the problem becomes later on the road when everyone rebelled against her. And then she comes back in Babylonia. And by the time in Babylonia, she's creating new kids, essentially, to replace the rest of humanity. So it would be like if your mother, think about your real life mother, your real life parents. If your parents were not happy with you and they were like, you know what? We will make a new kid and we will replace you. And we don't care if you die or anything because we're going to put all our effort into making sure this new kid is the main priority. Our main kid, our only kid. So I think Beast Tiamat is probably D tier. I think easily D tier. Because that's fucked up. You don't do that. You don't do that to your kids. So I know that's probably controversial. Some people said S tier easily. However, Larva Tiamat is technically different. So I will break the rules a little bit for mommy right now. And she has all the good qualities of Tiamat without any of the bad qualities, in my opinion. At least I don't think so. I think she's still a bit salty about what happened to Babylonia, but she's not acting upon those like feelings. She treats everyone, including King Hassan. You gotta think about this. King Hassan fucked her over in Babylonia. He was pivotal. He's one of the pivotal servants that allowed Tiamat to be defeated in Babylonia. And she doesn't reprimand him. She doesn't get angry with him. She doesn't hate him. She gives him a lunchbox. If you have both servants, that's her line with him in my room. She's like, I'm still scared of you, but here I'm still gonna give you your lunchbox. So she loves even King Hassan, who, again, fucked her over. So I think it makes sense for this iteration of Tiamat, the new incarnation, so to speak, of Tiamat, to be S tier. I think this is the tier list. Does anybody have any qualms with any characters so far, or at all? Because it's kind of the end of the tier list.